Beyond the Bell, Bloomberg's comprehensive cross-platform coverage of the U.S. market close starts right now.
About 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day, Katie Greifeld and Scarlet Fu counting it down to the closing bell. And here to help take us beyond the bell, it's global simulcast, now joined by Tim Stenovec and Madison Mills. We bring together all of our audiences, Bloomberg Television, Radio, YouTube, originals. Tim, I think that's it.
I think you got it all.
I think so.
Yeah.
You look at the trading today, and it looks like it's a day where the after-hours trade could be more interesting than what we actually saw.
Yeah, especially for and Apple. Sorry, guys. I don't know if I'm.
Yeah, they're gonna. It's not you, Maddie. Don't worry. They're gonna take care of your mic.
Oh, Maddie,
okay,
we
we're
missed
good.
what you said.
Okay, so yeah, guys, I was just saying that Amazon and Apple earnings coming up. We're going to be watching those closely. And Tim and I were talking with a guest earlier who mentioned that Apple is the one to watch when it comes to the consumer space, which we love to look at, especially when sussing out, Tim, the health of the economy.
Yeah, this is a tough one, though, because Apple really appeals to the high-end consumer, not just here in the U.S., but around the world. Still, it gives a great read, Scarlett, on what's happening in China with the greater China area, because such a big portion of Apple's revenue across the board comes from China. But I also think, Amazon Web Services in the wake of what we saw from Microsoft last week is so important. And also, I know that everyone cares about AWS, but let's get a good old-fashioned read on what's going on with the consumer from just Amazon's retail division.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to get excited about AWS, but it is the market leader and it drives growth at Amazon. Of course, we are also looking at energy stocks being the star performers in today's market, right? Because of oil prices and Saudi Arabia's announcement before the OPEC Plus meeting.
And let's take a look at the major averages right now, because we are about to close. And you take a look at the S&P 500. Actually, sell-off accelerating a little bit in the seconds leading up there, going to close about 0.3% lower. You look at the NASDAQ composite, doing a little bit better, still down about 0.1%. Then you take a look at the Dow, down about 0.2%. Overall, Maddie, again, not that exciting. The real fireworks today are after the closing bell.
Yeah, not that exciting. But having said that, I want to go through some of the gainers today. Love that I get to talk through some of the positive news stories here when it comes to the day's trade, particularly on a day like this. I want to start by talking about Wayfair, because they soared to a 15-month high. Actually, I do want to talk about Booking, because their earnings are coming in right now. Looks like their second quarter revenue hit $5.46 billion. That is above the estimate of $5.17 billion. Adjusted EBITDA also a beat, $1.78 billion, estimate of $1.47 billion. And also seeing second quarter gross bookings coming in better than expected as well, $39.69 billion. The estimate was $38.11 billion there. So looking like beats across the board there when it comes to Booking, Tim.
Okay, well, I like to go to the press release and see what the commentary says, Scarlett. You know what? I'm going to let you go, Scar, because we got Amazon coming in.
We got Amazon. This is the big one.
Forget Booking. What's going on with Amazon?
All right, Amazon, second quarter EPS, 65 cents a share. We're also looking at second quarter operating margin, 5.7%. Analysts were looking for 3.46%. So that is a big beat on the operating margin. When it comes to net sales overall, $134.4 billion. Analysts were looking for just over $131 billion. And of course, we've got to look at the AWS net sales. Amazon Web Services, $22.14 billion. Analysts were looking for $21.71 billion. So on all these different counts, it looks like Amazon's numbers are better than expected. And just to look forward to what Amazon is saying for this quarter, it sees revenue, net sales of anywhere from $138 to $143 billion, when analysts were looking for $138. So definitely on the high end, it is better than what was expected.
And it's that guide that's lifting shares right now. You can see shares up about 7% right now. You take a look at the press release. Andy Jassy saying it was another strong quarter of progress for Amazon, continue to lower our cost to serve our fulfillment network while also providing those Prime customers with the fastest delivery speeds we've ever recorded. So taking a bit of a victory lap there, Tim.
All right, well, we're going to keep an eye on Amazon, up 5% in the after hours. I want to get on over to Airbnb and check out what the company's doing in the after hours, because we're just getting the results in. Third quarter revenue forecast beat estimates. It's up 3% in the after hours. Third quarter revenue, Maddie, is seen as $3.3 billion to $3.4 billion. Estimates were for $3.22 billion, so a slight beat there. there. Nights and experiences booked came in below estimates at 115.1 million versus estimates of 117.8 million. I'm really going to be looking for the details of the consumer and what the consumer is doing, because we know from the airlines and from the hotels last week, the U.S. is really focused. The focus, you know, the U.S. For the U.S. consumer, the global travel has been the focus. So, you know, and are people still like doing long-term stays to work from anywhere as they're getting called back to the office? That was a big part of Airbnb's narrative over the last 2 years.
Yeah, it's such a great point, Tim, and it mirrors kind of what we had already anticipated. Again, getting those beats across the board when it comes to booking holdings. Also seeing Airbnb with a lot of beats as well. A similar story again with Marriott too. Hyatt really the only one mixed in the big week for travel earnings, Scar.
Yeah, this is a good story for the travel stocks, which definitely were under pressure today with Spirit Airlines' latest results, and also the Host Hotels REIT was also a disappointment too. So we've seen a lot of pressure on those travel stocks. But I want to go back to Amazon for a moment here, because just looking at the different numbers, I don't see anywhere where it actually missed. If you look at the different business lines, it all looks pretty good, and that's why the stock continues to move higher in the after-hours trade. There was some concern given Microsoft and what it said about the cloud that perhaps Amazon would see something similar, but that doesn't appear to be playing out.
There is some great context in our Top Live blog on that Amazon report that we're getting, reminding us, reporter Matt Day, that if you remember last quarter when they reported, you actually saw shares rise at first, but then it was on the earnings call that you had the CFO say that AWS's growth rate had slowed by 5 percentage points in 2Q. That caused a violent reaction in the stock. It's a good reminder on two fronts that A, the earnings call really matters here, even though we're seeing that big pop after hours. And B, that AWS, even though maybe it's a little bit boring to talk about, it is incredibly important here.
Hey, don't say AWS is boring, Katie.
I'm pretty sure that's the consensus.
You know, that's where Andy Jassy, who
simulcast.
I don't want to call him the new CEO anymore, but he took over from Jeff Bezos. That's where he came from. AWS is his baby. But Maddie, I was looking through these results, and if you're playing a game, you know, to drink every time you see the AI mentioned in Amazon's report, then you would be taking a few shots, because the company has spent about a third of its first statement from Andy Jassy talking about all the work that it's doing on AI, generative AI that makes it easier and more cost-effective for companies to train and run models, customizing large language models to build generative AI applications using Bedrock and write code much more efficiently with Code Whisper. This is certainly the summer of AI.
Yeah, and we're seeing those AI mentions across the board. I was looking at those travel stocks earlier today. We're seeing some AI mentions.
No way, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's important, right? The travel industry recovery is here, and we know that we're seeing a lot of consumer spending on services, but we're also seeing more and more focus, not just on consumer spending, but also, Scarlett, on the AI space as well.
Yeah, the AI mentions, I feel like last quarter, any kind of mention on AI was received positively, but this time around, you think about Amazon, is it an actual does it actually have direct exposure to AI, or is AI just something that makes its processes more efficient, and so it just kind of benefits indirectly? It has to spend money on it, and it will be able to wring out some costs, but it will have to spend on it. It's not making chips for AI the way NVIDIA is, so it's not really a directly exposed company.
Yeah. I think that's a great point, because you think about what we're seeing, the AI stocks that are rallying, it's the chip makers, it's sort of the companies that are making the picks and shovels of AI. You're not seeing that as much in companies that would necessarily benefit, but we're talking about Amazon here. It's up 53% year to date. That was before today's close. So I would imagine it's benefiting in some sense from the AI boom that we're seeing, at least in the stock market.
Anyone with a Bloomberg terminal right now should check out T Live and our live blog, where we've got a great team of reporters who are going through these results. Spencer Soper writing that Amazon CEO Andy Jassy showing investors that he can boost sales and also keep a lid on costs at the same time. It's a good vindication of the cost-cutting measures he initiated last year. We know last year was a tough year, certainly, Maddie, for the company.
Absolutely, and we're going to continue to monitor earnings for you as we are all anxiously anticipating those Apple earnings coming in. Again, on your terminal, if you want, you can go over to the Top Live blog and look at what Mark Gurman's take is on the Apple earnings that we're going to be getting hopefully any minute here, guys. But that's going to do it for our Beyond the Bell coverage. We'll be here again tomorrow, same time, same place.